Okay, so welcome to the 2024 fall season of Artists Talks on Art. It's Monday, October 14th, 2024, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Maria Paz, the new Director of Programming of ATOA. As a painter, art creator, and documentary filmmaker with a passion for interdisciplinary exploration, my work unites Eastern, Western, Northern, and Southern culture through symbolism and abstraction, reflecting our globalized era. For 50 years, Artists Talk on Art has been the premier forum for visual artists, holding the distinction of being the longest-running channel series in art history. ATOA's mission is to provide a platform for artists to share their thoughts and opinions, fostering critical dialogue on issues relevant to the contemporary art world and reflecting on historical context. Many of the most recent film recordings may be viewed in our YouTube channel. The rest of our 1,200 plus recording residents reside at the Archives of American Art of the Smithsonian Institution, where it is their biggest collection of audio and video. Please hold your questions or comments until the end of the dialogue. Tonight, we are honored to feature contemporary art based on Indigenous people. Artists Elisa Pritzker and Nestor Madalengoitia discuss the influences of Indigenous civilizations in the Americas have had on their contemporary art making. Elisa Pritzker is an Argentinian-American artist working in 2- and 3-dimensional art and installations. She's based in New York and has run the Elisa Parker Studio since 2000. She has shown in different art spaces, solo and group exhibitions, like MoMA, Queen, and Museum HBCCA. Nestor Madalengoitia was born in Lima, Peru, and has a career of 30 years in the U.S., and his work has been seen in numerous exhibitions in New York, South Korea, and Peru, Lima, and have done many workshops to show his skills. He lives in New York. Join us now as we delve the mixing of contemporary art and Indigenous people, the ancient and the modern.
I guess that is my turn to talk. I want to say that Nestor had a problem with the internet where he was in his studio, and he lives like a few minutes from the studio, so he was walking to his house to connect again. He called me now to say that he didn't have any option to continue, with the problem of connection. So he will connect again in a few minutes. So this is part of the live conversation. So one of the things that I want to say first is that I know many of the people that I see at least in the screen, and I want to say thank you for coming. Today is a holiday, so many people have plans to travel during the weekend and visiting family. So thank you for being here, just to hear our stories and to see some of our work. Also, I want to say that all the climate situation, that I'm sorry and I'm praying for the best outcome for people that they are suffering all the climate situation. So this is appropriate for me to say that I'm thinking about it and praying for them. Today is a very special day, Indigenous Day, and my work got inspired by one of the original people from Patagonia in Argentina, from the south, the last tip of the continent. If you continue a little bit walking, you get to the ocean. So it's the last tip at the end of South America. Argentina and Chile are the last two countries in South America. I always say that for me, the whole continent of South America is like a pizza format. So Argentina and Chile are the last part of the continent. And where I had a trip to Patagonia many years ago. I did 3 trips in total. I love that area. But the time that I went to the last tip is called the city at the end of the world. And now it's a very touristic area. But it has a past of many, many thousands of years. And I was walking it's called Tierra del Fuego, the city that I was, the land of fire in English. And I was walking in the mountain and I had an encounter with this civilization that is called Selknam. I will show you while I'm waiting to chat with Nestor.
Wow.
See, this is a catalog. Publicity is on Amazon, but it's called Selknam. It's a Selknam name because these original people were one of the 4 that they were in the island, because Tierra del Fuego is the last part of the continent, but it's an island. It was all together in the past, and many, many years ago it broke. There is a channel now, and it is an island that had 4 groups, different groups of indigenous people. They were there in the territory 10,000 years before the European came. And it was a genocide, actually, and it's listed on Wikipedia as a genocide too, in the list of genocides. So there are only descendants at this moment. So what I'm waiting for, Nestor, maybe Miruna can put some of my work up just to show a few images, so I'm not talking and talking. Maybe.
Yes, please do.
So I'm waiting for Miruna to connect and show some of my work, inspire. Okay, I love this picture only for many reasons, but one, because my daughter took it. So every time that I see the picture, I don't need the picture to remember my daughter, of course, but she took the picture. She said, "Mom, walk," because people can see the dimension of the work. This image is an installation that I did in 2015 at Hudson Valley Mocha. Before it was called Hudson Valley HVCCA, and now it's called Hudson Valley Mocha. It's a museum that I love, and I had an opportunity to do an installation that made a lot of sense to me. There is a centerpiece, as you can see, of like a circle of power, and in the back, you can see silhouettes that I painted on canvases. They are cutouts, canvases, and actually they represent the Selknam people when they were doing ceremonies. They were painting their bodies because they were nomadic and gatherers, so they didn't produce like the Mayas or the Aztecs, that they produce a lot of the pyramids and ceramics. The Selknam people, they were very minimal because they were going from one place to another due to the weather. I mean, Patagonia has the ice moment, the winter is very difficult to get food. So they were traveling from one side to the other of the island just to get better food. So they were very minimal. They didn't produce any art at all. The art was in their bodies. In the ceremonies, they painted their bodies with dots and lines. So this was part of the installation. We can go to the next. Here you have a close-up of part of the installation too. I paint with a lot of natural materials inspired by the Selknam people, and actually it became like a universal language. And it's a parallel with many, many indigenous people. I've been studying other people and other people from all over the world, and they are similar, but the only difference is that the way that they painted their bodies. It's an amazing, you can put Selknam online and you can see the real photos of them with their bodies painted. So I know the name of each one because every shaman had a place in the ceremony. They were representing a different situation during the ceremony. One of the ceremonies called Hain, 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 was a ceremony very similar to the Jewish celebration. It was the passing from the childhood to the adulthood. So, and they were like 1 year celebration, and they were painting their bodies. They had several people that they were the artists of the group, and they were in charge of painting the body of the shamans. So we can go to the next one. So I hope Nestor, I see Nestor. Well, this is a view of the circle. It was a big circle, and I had a great experience with kids. They asked permission. They came to the museum to a talk that I did for kids. Amazing. One of the best experiences of my exhibit. It lasted like 6 months, this exhibit. And we did a lot of activities. They did. And one of them was a talk with kids. And they were asking me permission to get in and sit inside the circle. And one of the kids told me, I feel different when I sit inside the circle. That was an amazing experience. The kids were amazing. So each rock has painted, and it took me like a year to prepare this exhibit. So Nestor, are you here? Can you unmute, Nestor? So we can talk a bit. Okay. Do you have?
Can I say something?
Yes.
So I am not technical person. So I went there, and in my studio, I tried to set it up, and all the signs of the computer says everything is okay. According to, I have a bars. I don't know if you yourself, you were able to see me sporadically there, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know what happened. It went in and out. Apologize for that. Technical difficulties. I am at home, and apparently I don't want to keep complaining, but I send images to Elisa, and I also send to Maria. So I don't know what else to tell. I can tell about my work's abstract because it's not images. So,
well, the images that you send me, I send them for the application. That's the only images that I got. Afterwards, I don't know what images. I didn't receive any more than the first 5 images that I share with ATOA.
Yeah, I don't know. You're recording, right? It's not on live, correct?
It's live and it's recorded, both.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I cannot articulate this. I don't know what to say because I don't have images. Pardon me?
Can they show your website?
Well, I can see my website, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Can somebody there put your website up?
Can somebody there put my website, please,
To show it? Or-
to show up, or
Yes,
there's some
so-
images there.
Sure,
but I
we
can-
can. Yeah, we can.
Can you put
So-
that in the, can you put that in the
Chat.
chat?
Nestor, can you write in the chat your website? Nestor is nestormadalengoitia.com.
I know that.
No, I'm asking you because
Yes.
Miruna maybe can help you.
Yeah, it's nestorart.com, simple as that. But
Nestorart.com.
yes.
Okay. In the meantime, do you have any questions? The people that are graciously waiting for all this inconvenience. I want to say that I'm in touch with the Selknam people, the descendants, and they participated in my catalog by sending quotes, and they are very happy for me to make an interpretation. As I said, they didn't produce anything, so everything that I did about them is an inspiration from them. I created images and symbols that they come from my invention, really, because I visited at least 10 museums in Argentina. Even Smithsonian has a couple of photos of them. So, but the only thing that they produced were arrows and bows and small bags that they were plain to carry, and the teepee to move from one place to another. But what attracted me was their symbology in terms of cosmogony, the idea of how the world was created, all the ceremonies, all the painting in their bodies, and women were shamans too. That is also because they were honoring women, and a civilization that was 10,000 years on Earth. For me, was everything that I learned from them was very almost contemporary. The way that they love the land, the way that they honor women, the way that they had all the idea how the world was created and all the ceremonies, and also the use of all the resources without wasting anything. So all the things that I learned in my studies, it made me love them dearly. So I got very inspired, and of course I research a lot, and I'm in touch with several of the most important Selknam people. They live in Argentina and Chile. So any question when, I don't know, Nestor, where he is now?
I have a question.
Yes.
Did they just paint their bodies, or did they tattoo also?
No, it was paint, only paint. They didn't tattoo at all. The paint was impermanent. It was 3 colors. You'll see in my work that I use the 3 or 4 colors. They mix powder of shells from the shore with grease from animals, and that created the white. The black was the coil that when they did fire, and the red and the yellow were the ground, earth. So they painted temporary. It was just for the ceremony, and then they took the painting and dressed with other way. The daily life was not with a paint. They were not all the time with their bodies painted, but no tattoos, not at all. Another question?
I have like a comment, Elisa, and that is, I am, still in wonderment that you study a civilization and their symbols and, can now be a channel to keep this culture alive. And I've seen you go to work on stones. I've seen you go to work on pieces of wood. I've seen you go to work on all sorts of natural materials. And you think like a Selknam now. And, how does that feel, to be a Selknam in America? It's like
Well, you really touch a very important point, because as keep studying and researching and seeing their work in museums and photos of their bodies, I can talk several hours about all my research, but it really changed my life, all the research that I did. It made me be more minimal with my life, more, I was always recycling, not always, but many, many decades. But I became more using the resources that I have instead of going to the store to buy materials. I started even looking what I had in my studio. That was the beginning. I said, I have a lot of materials accumulated, and I go to the store and purchase things. I will start looking what I have in my studio to use, and that was really an inspiration, by seeing how a civilization with nothing lived 10,000 years in the territory, without nothing, just nature. And I was like, taken by that, because any of us, if we put us in nature, I don't know if we'll survive. So, because we have a lot of commodities, I'm not planning to go to live outside in nature, but I can, I really changed my life in many ways. And thank you, Penny. You know me a little bit more than other people, so we talk many, and thank you for all your support always.
oh, well, I'm a great admirer.
Thank you.
I was thinking, Nestor is not on, but to me, his work is, the gods of the past, and they're all like superheroes. And, it's sort of the, kind of the opposite, because you're taking the everyman of the Selknam, and he has, what even my granddaughter thought, oh, that must be the god of lightning. And there's like, we saw his show at Vassar. It was, and the interpretation for, even a very young person is that they're superheroes, right? And, the 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 people that you're depicting, are really everymen, are they not? Not
Yeah,
superheroes?
no, not at all. It's the daily life, and really, it's a civilization in general. I'm not depicting any. They didn't have a chief. That was an interesting thing. They live in communities, like 30, 40 families together without a boss, a chief. And the only thing that they did when they were hunting, they had the ones that had more ability was the head of the hunting group. So it was per ability, but then when they returned from the hunting, it was one more of the group. So I like that. I mean, I was admiring that they can live 10,000 years without a boss or without a chief. And that was unusual for me to know that a civilization was living that way. And also, as I said, women were fishing. If you pass Miruna, my work, I do fishes because it's honoring women. I think that I have there. Thank you for. People ask me, why do you do fishes? Because women were doing the fishing part of the food, the daily food. So for me, it was great to know that men were hunting and women were fishing. They were no canoe, they were no navigators, but the women were fishing at the shore with the spikes. You know the spikes that you. And I was, yes, thank you. So that was I did a collection of fishes, and of course the dots are part of their, you know, their the use of their decorations on their bodies. So anyway, I don't know why Nestor is not a. Are you on, Nestor?
I am. My mic is on. I mean, I can speak. I can
Yes,
say
please.
something. But they were about to help with the images. I'm sorry, there are so many people are looking at. But I had so many things to say, but not.
Here,
But
here are some of your images.
this is some of the images of the website. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a conversation on two views of our ancestry, right? I mean, the human ancestry. I am not direct link to the Incas or to the Pre-Columbians in Peru. Perhaps I have maybe 10% indigenous. I didn't prove it, but we all came from the same tribe, I guess, from Africa. We go back there to tens of thousands of years ago, right? But this is only a body of work that I was inspired by the famous mantle Paracas that is part of the collection of the Brooklyn Museum. And the story is fascinating to me because I went to see the museum to see the regular collection of tapestry about 35 years ago. And after seeing the fabulous display that they have about Paracas, mostly tapestries, and I was leaving the museum and I saw a dark room. So I entered the dark room, was intrigued by the dark room, and in the middle of the room was a table, a display, a vitrine, horizontal. So I inspected closely and I saw the mantle de Paracas, the mantle of Paracas. It's an extraordinary piece of tapestry from the peninsula, produced in the peninsula of south of Lima. It's called Paracas. And it was produced 2,000 years ago. And in that piece, you can recognize 90 images surrounded the mantle. They don't know yet what is it, maybe ceremonial, maybe just celebration of the richness of the Lord or the lady there in Paracas. But each of the icons, each of the images are a celebration of human, just a human living person. There you can recognize priests, shamans, warriors, animals, plants, among other things, another little things that we don't recognize. I mean, when I say we, artists, archaeologists, scholars, they don't recognize for sure what are they. But this extraordinary piece impact me. I don't know if that English impact me.
Yes,
Um,
impacted me. Yes.
Made
It's
an
just-
impact
yeah,
on you.
made
Impressive.
something on me. I mean, in my psyche, in my imagination, in the core of my humanity and my artistic endeavors. So I saw it, and I keep it in the head of my back, in my head, in the back of my head, for good 22 years or so, until about 10 years ago, I started deciphering each of the images. and I create this. I call it juxtaposition between my daily activities into these images, which again are humans, animals, and nature. So I call it Tai Chi Paracas because I practice Tai Chi Paracas. I'm sorry, I practice Tai Chi, and also some sports, soft sports now, and so it's a conversation piece in between my daily activities, so well, my observations of people moving and dancing and drumming and singing, choreography, something, or just walking, right? Or doing sports into these icons. So I just have fun doing it, and it's a imagination, an imaginary conversation of them and now, so to speak. So
Can we look at another few images?
sure.
You have to, yes, in Tai Chi Paracas, perfect. In the meantime, I want to say that I had a great time visiting Nestor in his studio. He has a studio in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I'm sure that he's open to receive visits. The same that my studio is open to any of you. I'm in Highland, New York, in Ulster County. And it was a great experience to have a conversation with Nestor about this body of work. And it really, since I'm doing the Selknam people, inspiration, I have that inspiration. I see that we are searching in the past for what the humans in the past were and how we can learn from them to make the world better. I think that it's kind of the way that the planet and the life, our daily life, it's very inspirational to trace our roots, whatever roots we have. I mean, I think that individually it's a very interesting process to go back and see what the roots of each of us are and what we can learn to bring the knowledge that they had to bring it to the present and to
And
the
can
future.
talk about his pieces.
If Nestor can tell us a little bit about these pieces we're seeing.
Very important because
Your site is loading a little slowly, but go ahead.
Yeah, they are more creative than a specifically interpretation of something. There is a motivation for me to create something with the watercolor, with tones and colors and depth, and I recreate this cosmovision of the Paracas in the tapestry into a new world that I can see every day in Poughkeepsie. You know what I mean? But most important of that than that is, I think it's just a confirmation of how, like Elizabeth was quoting, that we can learn from the ancient civilization, right? They were a civilization in their own. I mean, they were, like, for instance, in Peru we have Caral, which is the older civilization in the Americas. It's about 5,500 years old. So in parallel to the Sphinx and the pyramids in Egypt, so that all. So it's not the grandiosity of the pyramids or the pyramids in Mexico, the pyramids in Egypt, but they have a pyramids and they have their society well established. They have the army, they have their religion, they have their astrology, they have their incredible agricultural civilization in the coast of Peru. Unfortunately, we'll take it by the current of the Nino. I mean, there were like a lot of the natural disasters that echoes again to today, like what's happening in Florida, what happened in the incredible rains in New York City now, and the heat in New York City and in New York State, in the Northeast and beyond. So there was a civilization, and they were banished by so many factors, civil wars among themselves. But I think most of that was because nature banished all the civilizations in the coast of Peru. So, I mean, this is the the lower part of this presentation, I guess, talking about. But the other side is the celebration of humankind. I mean, you just look at the icons are so alive and so beautiful, and some of them have even a humor, you know, like if you see the llama, you can put it down a little, you can focus in the llama face. It's hysterical face. That's what it is in the woven. So they have this incredible humor, incredible alive. The colors are vibrant. The techniques that they use are extraordinary. It's no comparison to the technology that we have today with the super machines, with the super computers that they can sew, they can weave. They were just incredible weavers, and likewise other civilizations in the world. So we can learn a lot from them, and artists we kind of contribute, I guess, to highlight these ideas of put them into the present, you know, reconfirming. El Manto de Paracas was an influence in so many artists, in contemporary artists, such as Kid Haring or Terry Winter. They observed those images in the Museum of Brooklyn. That's one of the reasons they treasure it. Yeah.
Well, talking about influence, we have Picasso that he got influence with the African masks, and he created Cubism thanks to all his love for the masks. So it's a, you know, it's a connection. I mean, I don't think that in your case or mine, Nestor, we were forced intellectually to do it, to say let's look at, you know, the civilization. I think you had an encounter with a manto in the Brooklyn Museum, and I had an encounter in the mountain. It means that it was meant to be that we crossed the path of our lives with something that was done in, you know, that there were civilizations that they were very important in the past. So I think that we were touched, and it's wonderful that we can honor them today. That is October 12th. You know, that's a very important acknowledgement to talk about, you know, what happened with all the richness of the cultures that all over the world. It's not only South America. In the US, we have a lot of cultures. I've been in touch with many groups that are, you know, indigenous groups, and they had a lot to contribute to our civilization. I think that we have to listen a lot how they take care of the land, how they connect directly with the land. So maybe will help us to take care of our land that is our home in a better way. I think that, you know, that's one of the things that I learned, that we have to really be careful with our planet. That is where we live. This is
Nestor,
something.
I have a question. What materials are you using? Paint or what?
For and this is a watercolor. But
Watercolor?
yes, but the whole series was composed with pastel, watercolor, and acrylic.
Beautiful.
On
Wow.
paper. So the most elemental techniques, right? Ancient
Yeah.
techniques.
Yep. Very
So
nice. And the writing. Wow.
Yeah, the writing is kind of refers to the subject. All the painting that I do, the portraiture or my compositions, they are, I call it, maybe wrongly, the patternism, because they have patterns. So they're
Yeah.
built with patterns by, by kind of a mash of icons, letters, images, and I paint in the negative space. So I kind of combine these two elements and to form the image, you know.
Yes.
Hopefully you will see something there. So that's basically what I do. And it has connection with the very basics of graphing, right? Like when you are little, when you're a children, you do a little images, a little flowers. We just do more like more sophisticated, more a little letters, more we form other elements and more complexes. So
I have a not a question but a comment. I see between the two of you at least some commonalities in terms of marks
Yeah, I
and
would
language
like to, yeah, sorry.
language. And I'm wondering whether there's something pervasive in the Americas, in the indigenous cultures generally, that would they share this same commonality of language and mark making, and perhaps even coloration?
It's a
What do
very
you,
good
what do the two
observation.
of you think about that?
It's a very good observation. If Miruna can go back and put some of my symbols, I want to show how, well, Nestor has a lot of writing in his work in general. It's kind of one of his marks. I saw it in the studio, in portraits, and in many other he uses. But not the dots. If you can go, you see one of the, if you go back to the previous one, Miruna, these are small seeds, and the one that shows the left hand side, you can see those symbols. That, when I see that, I see a big connection with Nestor, because you can go and keep going. Maybe we find other ones that have not the dots and lines, maybe. Well, here is one of them. I see a connection because it's not a writing, but it's a way of writing also with symbols. I see a big connection with Nestor in these works. And I think that Doug was saying something very interesting. I think that most of the indigenous people, they use symbols, and the dots and lines are universal. It's a very interesting, I'm not an anthropologist. I don't know the connection between one and the other, in terms of using symbols, but you can go and look for many indigenous people, and they were using marks, dots, lines, and symbols. So it's a very universal language.
Beyond your dots, though, there's a whole iconography in your work.
Yeah.
And I see in Nestor's work some of the same inclinations, at least.
Yeah.
And both of you, what you have in common as contemporary artists, I think, is the inclination to interpret the indigenous cultures in a more contemporary way by creating your own iconography.
Yes. Yes, you're right. How do you feel about that, Nestor? We are creating, imagining things too. Not only, as I said, the Selknam people only use dots and lines. All of this came about by being in the studio and thinking about their lives and their.
it has to do something with organizational skills that humans have, right? I mean, in the beginning, again, when you are a year old, you start doing lines and like almost. I reflect myself in my granddaughter who is doing now. I think it's like crayons. I make this house of cardboard and inside I painted in white completely with it have a ceiling, right? It's a cardboard. And she goes there with her paint and he just paint like I remember seeing some videos of maybe the Australians, indigenous Australians, but also I saw Basquiat in a few videos when he
Yeah.
goes there vaguely and painted with without only seeing, it's just like just playfully painting, or Picasso himself, right? Or Kid the Haring in the subways. We just do it and start doodling. So, but obviously, when you are 40 years old, you start organizing more. You can recognize the A and the B and the C, and furthermore, when you go in the middle school, you have to start doing sentences and and in the secondary level, you can do paragraphs, and when you go to college, you can do essays and beyond, right? And but I I don't know about where it goes this what I'm saying, but it's an evolution of things. And sometimes we go back, like Elisa, just doing these little dots that they look like just dots, elementary dots, but graciously put it, right? Creating a cosmovision itself, like the circle in the middle of the one we saw here. This is like to me, it's like a bubble of like a snow bubble of something, and but it's new, but it's made it of dots, and so we I don't know, I was thinking that we are like a shamans in a way, or no gurus, but we trying to transform, or we are kind of the link in between the know and the unknown. I always go back with tell the stories of the artists as a leaders, right? I was always imagining in the cavemen, for instance, they didn't have any explanation of the volcanoes, or the terrible animals that they attacked them, and some of them they killed them, and some of them they were the humans in victory, they killed the animal, right? So, but the only person who can really explain this phenomenology, or well, what was happening that time, was the artist. He went there and went to the cave and calmed them down, I say, with his hands, or with start counting the animals that they kill, or they depicted the volcano. He depicted a volcano, and they say, they calm down. This is what it is. It's just a volcano, that kind of thing. I don't know if they spoke, or they have other symbols in that time. But you can see in the cave paintings, it's I recognize the artist as the leader, because the leader tells them this is what is happening. You know what I mean? I will just keep going. The next day will be different, But this is what we did.
We know, and we all that are here, we know that art not only has a mission in itself, but also a historic, anthropological history. We are constructing the history of humanity through many of the things that the archaeologists found. So we know the history. Many things that we know is through the creation, through the centuries. So the art has not only a mission of inspiration, of all the things that we talk about art is, also it includes the story of humanity. That's the way that I see it. We collaborate with the anthropologists and the archaeologists. We don't realize that while we are doing art, but when we are gone, the work that stayed, tells a story about our time. So it's a very important contribution. I agree that I don't know if we are shamans or not, but we are contributing to the story of humanity. That's what I'm sure about. That is why I have passion for archaeology and anthropology as science, because we tell the story of humanity. So through all the things that we found. Doug, you were saying something, or? Well, I don't know. I think that we already said, but I will love if somebody has comments or questions. We are celebrating really Indigenous people, our past. They are not them and us. It's the evolution of humanity. And it's important to remember how we were as humanity then, to see what we can bring to our present time, all the knowledge and all the, the concepts of life that they had, just to review them and to see which ones we are forgetting, and they can remind us, where we can go from now on. I think that that's most importantly the mission of remembering. We cannot change the past, we cannot change what happened with them, all the genocide, and unfortunately, but we can, honor them and see what are the things that we can learn from them. That's really what it is important to me. And I think that for Nestor too, right?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I am new to the program. So I have a question about repetition, actually, for both of you. In your works, there is a repetition in the motif. I mean, most obvious in yours is dots and these symbols in repetition, and also in Nestor's work. And there's it's well, from what I understand, it's based on the textile, and in the back there is. I mean, not only that, but it looks like stitches, but I know they're paintings, yeah. And so there are gestures of repetition, excuse me, in its formal composition. So could you both, not at the same time, but could you both talk about the repetition, the element of repetition in your works, please? Thank you.
Nestor, can you go first, or you want me to do it?
I don't recall that repetition, but if it happens, it's sort of coming back to the theme, coming back to what you were staying first in the first stroke. You can repeat it again, some of the elements through the painting. Likewise, in a poetry or maybe in a novel, right? You go back always to review the same location, kind of thing. But I think sometimes it's important to confirm or emphasize something, right? Likewise, you can do, by contrast, you can do opposites instead of repetition to strike something, visually to strike. I guess that's what I can say about repetition. I think I use more like parallelism. I tend to compare two things, in an images, just to like parallel lines or parallel. Sometimes I do the same letter repeated in several locations with not necessarily one specific reason. It's just for the aesthetics, and yeah.
Well, I think that I repeat things without repeating, because I don't have like a pattern. Like I said, this is a symbol that I will do it again exactly like typography that you can repeat, but I see repetition in my work. And it's a little bit the rhythm of nature for me. You have the summer, then you have the spring, then, you have all the seasons. And I think that the repetition is it's like chanting about nature for me. That's really what I feel, that I'm repeating like a chant of nature, coming back to the origins, and it's the way that for me life goes. It's like a cycle that goes, and I think that I repeat in that way, just honoring nature and the cycles of human life and human and nature in itself. That's really what I feel. But I don't copy any of this. When I go to the studio, I don't copy one that I have like a pattern, say I will do, but they come similar. They come like animals or plants or they are hunters or women or tipis. Each symbol has a similarity. They are similar, but I see the repetition. And thank you for noticing that.
Well,
I
no,
like
yeah, it's not so much, I noticed it because of it's in the formal element, but also it echoes that you mentioned about chanting, this sort of ritualistic. I mean, I have to say I've not attended that many ritualistic ceremonies, but from what I know, chanting also has an element of repetition. Yeah, of course there are variations. It's not exactly the repeat of that thing, but in a way, I kind of see, I'm looking this way because I have two screens and I have your work on the other side, both of yours actually. And so I see that the repetition actually slowly brings the work out, it's kind of like
yes,
in the ritual.
it's
Yeah,
a ceremony. I consider my work it's like a ceremonial work, and the chanting is included. Yes, I consider that it's a ceremony of life, a ceremony of nature, and the chanting is included. Yes, I see that repetition. It's like when you have a song, also you repeat and come back and go back. Yes,
it brings out the work. It's kind of like
yes, it's
ritual,
not it's
calling
not
something out.
exactly. It's not what I have in mind, but it's in the back, that kind of honoring ceremonial. It's a ceremony. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Of course, and thanks, Ernesto, for explaining your repetition. I didn't get to say, but thank you. And it's also very interesting. I like exploring the themes and variations of things, and I'm glad that I saw something to ask.
Yeah, thank you. So any
I
other?
would like to say something.
Yeah.
Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I feel like very touched by your work, specifically because my father was born in Tierra del Fuego.
Wow.
And yes, so they have like a house nearby. And I remember by that time when I was little, they always like kind of in Chile, as a Chilean person, I was born in Chile, always we kind of compared our country with others that has contracted more, with Peru, with Mexico, Egypt. I mean, all those countries has huge edifications and constructions and pyramids. And nowadays, I see Chile and Argentina and South America like as a country of virgin nature.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, I don't know, it's talking about repetition and cycles. I feel like it's beautiful how we can also honor nature as such a valuable thing when it's untouched and
Yeah.
there. That's what
That
I
is
was
very
very
important.
touched.
Yes, yes. I had the same feeling about the Mayas. I studied for many years the Mayas in the past. In 2000, more or less, I produced a body of work about the Mayas because they had pyramids. We used their calendar until the 19th century. I mean, the agronomy, the agriculture, they were so advanced. I love Mexico and I love the Mayas. And I compare, like you said, Maria Paz, I say, well, the South American indigenous from Chile and Argentina, they were minimal. They didn't really produce much, but the production was in their ceremonies, in the cosmovision that they had. So then I came to terms with that. I said, well, we didn't leave like a pyramid for people to visit, you know to go to Mexico, Yucatan, and it's so magnificent. But we had other things, other components that we can honor. And like you said, there are so many virgin land that would be the future of our planet is in the virgin land that we have there. Really.
Yeah. And I remember that we have like Maturana. Maturana is like a very mystical, profound and deep writer, Chilean. And he wrote and has like a beautiful interview, and he says, for our Indians, nature was the God. So that's why it's untouched.
Yes.
So I feel it's nice, and thank you. Beautiful.
But I want to clarify that the Selknam people are Chilean and Argentinian. They
Yes.
are from both countries because they live in both before the border was created. They were moving from one part of the other of Patagonia in the south. So it's from the two. We are sisters in that way, you know.
Yeah,
that's
Well,
important.
it has something to it's the thing about the repetition has something to do with the circular cosmovision of the ancient civilizations versus the linear cosmovision that we have now, right? We have to invent things, we have to go straight, we have to go.
Yeah.
And capitalism contributes to to change, always buying the new things. You had to buy the new car, you had to get the new technology, you had to get the best iPhone, that kind of thing. So instead of just getting to the basics, just
exactly
repeating the same thing, like that was the cosmovision of the ancient civilizations. Not necessarily all of them, that we cannot generalize, but it's repeating, like chanting, like you were saying, repeating the whole ritual of the day, right? The day in the beginning, you wake up, do your business, settle down in the middle, continue your business in the afternoon, and go settle down in the evening and go to sleep, and I repeat it again the next day. So I think has to do something with it. I mean, we kind of ritualize, and all the rituals have this enchanting, this repetitious things that we do, humans. So has something to do with that. We represent that, I guess, in our paintings, in our literature, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you, Nestor.
And we are very frantic to get the new things. That's the other thing. And obviously, the artists, we want to perhaps emphasize that in our creation, right? We want to our masterpiece like tomorrow. This painting that I did today is not a good one. The next one will be the best.
But something else I see is also what you mentioned, Nestor, earlier about repetition and poetry. And I think that's the element I also like about both of your work, is that the repetition actually brings out the sense of poetry in them, So I wasn't really thinking about sort of the critique of everyday life or ritualizing, which I completely agree, because, life is cyclical, and I'm going to go to sleep and walk my dog, that's what I do every day. But I really like sort of the poetic sense in the repetition. If I'm,
I love what you're saying. Really, I'm learning a lot. From the audience. It's really good to hear your comments, because that's what we are artists. We want to touch the life of our people, our friends, our people that can encounter our work. So that is one of the things. Yes.
I think both of you have fascinating work, and you're so devoted to it. It's really fascinating. And look what I have here. Look.
Yes.
I keep it next to me. It's Elisa's.
Oh my God, Shelley.
Yeah.
Oh my
From about 10 years ago, I think.
Oh my God, Shelley.
It's very comforting.
Yes, oh my God, everybody.
Oh my goodness. Doug has one too. And I have one, but I was missing for a while.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
This one has a little circle here. So I could really be wearing it around my neck, but then it would become sort of like a talisman.
Yeah. But this one,
anyway, I love this little thing.
The repetitive dots.
I was thinking that talisman, that's a great word, and I think it's a little too heavy, right? But you can make a lighter interpretation. So I can see you, instead of using your boring, not yours, but generally the bow tie or the tie, right? Instead of using that, imagine using a piece of art.
Oh, look at Ruth. Oh my God. Oh my God, guys, you make me cry.
I was thinking the other day that I would like to crash one of those fancy openings in Chelsea of the Grand Masters of today and go there and start asking people to maybe draw something in the palette. How do you call the palette, right? The palette or the
Paleta, the
jacket?
palette, yes, the
Or the
artist palette.
no, the in the jacket you have this. What's the name of this thing?
Oh, a collar,
Lapel.
Lapel.
lapel,
In the
lapel.
lapel, or maybe in the so the idea was to come, and sometimes I think like a kid, you know, like a college kid or a very young person going to this party and trying to do some to break the ice and maybe getting Instagram and getting TikTok or something like that and be a sensational the next day with millions of viewers
Yeah.
because it was in this exhibition in Chelsea in this master, and this guy in his 60s start painting in the palette, how do you call that? Or
Ow.
in, yeah, and ask gently to a person, say, do you mind if I draw something in your palette? And somebody, my friend, will start recording and doing in Instagram immediately. You know what I mean? I have that idea. Kind of an act of a
Well,
shamanism.
maybe
No?
you tell us that you did it. That's fun.
Maybe I will do one day. I don't know.
Anyway, thank you for showing my little treasures that is going around. People ask me about that many times. Thank you, Doug. You supported, all of you supported me. And, you know, this is one of the things talking about repetition and sending love and good energy to my people. It's just something that I appreciate all the support. But I love to do small things that can go, you know, everywhere and remembering nature and small things, the daily things, a rock or a piece of, you know, nature. This is part of what I learned from the Selknam people, that they were like so committed to nature, and this is one of the things that is my worries, that is in the back of my mind, how we are treating our planet. So it's one of the things that, without being, I don't want to be negative, because this is a chant. It's a beautiful chant to be with all of you, but it's one of the things that worries me. And I think that that's my passion, to continue using nature. And, you know, here we are, instead of a canvas or this or that, here we are, a small rock can be, you know, a reminder. So this
Well,
is.
I am very optimistic. I had to kind of announce this because I saw again El Manto de Paracas. I saw it 35 years ago, and it's so fragile that they put it in storage. Is that English? Storage? Yeah, they put it in, you know, in conservation, right? Because it's so fragile. But I am in conversations with one of the curators of the Brooklyn Museum, and she says that they will exhibit the Manto de Paracas in February. So then, because it was for a long time in storage, in study, they're studying this mantle from different kinds of points of view, artists, archaeologists, religious people, scholars, and different kind of things. But anyways, they will be in view again in February. So if you are curious about the Manto de Paracas, you can go and see it. It will be in the Brooklyn Museum again, in public. So I am excited about that.
Great.
So I do want to say that we have a couple of Nestor's works too, and I remember eagerly waiting for more in the series of the Paracas, since he did 90 of them.
Wow.
I wonder, you know, it seemed like really what it was happening was not so much that he was thinking about it, but was waiting for the dream to happen for each one. And both of you are highly articulate and thoughtful in your art, and have, you know, give it a great deal of thought when you create things. And yet I have the sense that when you talked about being inspired in these series, that really you were drawing from a slightly different space than just all you know already about creating art. And so I wonder if you could just sort of comment whether the feelings you had while doing these works was different than some of the things that you do more often.
Yes, I can go, and Nestor, sorry, but I can jump immediately because this is the first time in my life, 50 years of doing art, that I don't think much. This is what you are saying is exactly what happened to me. I was doing a series of art about nature 15 years ago, and one day studying and researching and thinking about it and listening the chants of one of the shamans that was recorded in the 50s. I took a rock in my studio that I had a collection. Like many artists, we have things in the studio. I took a rock from the floor, I put it in my desk, and I started doing dots. And I was telling my husband, oh my God, I think that a shaman is visiting my studio, because just without thinking, I start, and the whole body of work is I'm not thinking when I do this work. It's something, I'm not telling that I'm channeling or not, I don't use any word, but I'm not intellectualizing. It's just I sit or go to the floor or wherever size I'm working on, and it just comes and comes. I don't know. This is really interesting because I had other bodies of work that I want to communicate this, I want to say this, more intellectual and thoughtful. This is all, it comes from the heart to the piece. That's really what happens. Nestor, it's your turn to tell.
I think it's the balance. I think it's the balance. I remember when I was in high school, there was a guy who was he says he was a communist, but he had a factory, so he was a capitalist in the same time. So it's they have the term in Peru. They have the term they call caviar, a person who speaks like the like Marxist, right? We had to make the changes. We had to talk about society, that kind of thing. But he have a very nice car, a Peugeot, the last Peugeot that he produced in France, that kind of thing. So they call caviar these kind of persons, and they're very simple, but they're progressive, right? In Argentina, probably the same. And but he used to tell me that he champions. He told me that Nestor, Nestito, he used to tell me, right? You had to be an artist because the art is before the scientist. They're more important than the scientists. He explained to me from the point of view of the Marxists, and I go along with these speeches. He was a very smart guy. But with the same token, I have this no meditation, but I always think that in what he tells me, and I have the balance. I feel like what's his name? Albert Einstein was an incredible violinist, right? So, and he believed in God. I don't know if he believed in God or he thought in God. He says, I don't remember. Maybe they can fix it. He can tell me exactly about that. But I always think I think in God. No, I don't believe in God. I think in God, and but when I create, I always have in the balance. I have a lot of geometry in it. I have the perception of physics there. I see the numbers. I see the calculations. I see in my canvases that. But when I start doing the painting, I very, very sensitive guy, very subjective guy, and I just do it. But and again, I stop by in the middle of the process and I observe that what I am doing, and I say maybe this is a little too much. Maybe I should go back again to the original idea and kind of fix it, or make a consensus with what I'm doing. So I think it's a balance.
What about this particular series, Nestor, and the Paracas? Was that different for you at all, or was it really the same process?
The same process. Specifically, I want to. One of the reasons that I didn't sign the paintings, because I feel like I am stealing. Well, Picasso, he stole it, and he was Picasso. He was just a genius. but I feel like a little bit, sometimes they are like a kind of studies. My paintings are a little studies of the manto de Paracas, this juxtaposition. I'm feeling like I am almost like a, how do you call when you are a sinner, but you sacrilege. It's almost like a sacrilege. It's an act of sacrilege what I did with this series, and that's why I don't sign them. And sometimes I sell and I say, but you didn't sign it, so I sign it because the person asked for. But all the paintings are not signed because I feel a little bit. I think I kind of untouch it or overdid. I don't know how to explain it, but I just don't sign it. And but I have a lot of thought in each picture, and meticulously thought, especially in the beginning when I purposely try to kind of produce this dialogue in between them and now, right? Them, the Paracas, the beautiful life of Paracas, the vibrancy of the people of Paracas, because you can see in the mantle, it's extraordinary. You have to see it, and you can visit it in the website of the Bruce Museum of Brooklyn. You can see it. They have the schemes, they have the photographs in high definition, enough to see, to recognize the masterpiece of the weaving, but also the artistry of the composition and the style of the Paracas. I mean, they were incredible artists, and but I have this back and forth in when I produce, when I generally when I do art. Yeah, there is the website. And you can see that the mantle, the upper right side is almost gone. There are 5 pieces that they are the upper. You can see the legs. All the images are connected with this red. I call it red carpet. You know, like the paparazzi red carpet. But it's a red strip. All the legs are connected, and the rest is just cosmological. And that's the other thing that connects me with Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is precisely that, right? The connection in between the Mama Pacha or lo que you know, the our Mother Earth, which are the roots, which are our legs, right? Our body is the trunk of the tree, of the plant, and the arms and our imagination, our head, our hair as well. It's the tree, you know, the branches of the tree, right? And in unisono with nature, we are connected with the clouds, we are connected with the rain, with the air, with the sun, with the moon, with the sounds of the birds, right? The roar of the thunderstorm. So all of these are connected, and Tai Chi it's basically not an imitation, but a reinterpretation in a dance or in the martial art of those things. So that's what I like it, and I do my Tai Chi. I sometimes I go and join other groups, but I do it more like a dance. Sometimes it look like a salsa, sometimes it look like a huayno. So it's not precisely the Asian thing, right? And I have friends from Asia, very good friends from Asia, especially Shreu. And he said, that's not Tai Chi. He says, he laughs about Tai Chi.
Just to say, I'm fascinated by this, and I will definitely visit with more time and care.
Yeah.
But Miruna, can you, just to say bye to my part, can you type Selknam people and show to this beautiful group? I don't know if you saw them, the original photos of the first of the end of the 20th century. If you put Selknam people, and I can say bye in this way, because it's just to honor also. This is the daily life, but I want, if you can go back and continue to find them with their celebration. This is the, yes, you can continue. This is the massacre, and this is the daily life. If you continue, this is what they created. I want to show you, this is the minimal. If you continue and we get to the shamans, here we are one. So this is a photo from 1918 to 1924. It was taken by a North from Austrian German. This is the way that they painted their bodies in that time. I want to show you the real Selknam people when they did ceremonies, just to celebrate with you, because this is more than I can say. This is really more. So if you want to continue, we see a few more, and I think that well, this is the flag that they created, the ancestral people of today. This is not from them. It's a new flag that
contemporary flag from the same area.
Yes, because I'm in touch with the Chilean and Argentinian, the descendants, and they created this flag. They were the original Selknam didn't have a flag. In the daily life, they were using, fur from the animals, that you saw that, and they transformed themselves from there to, here you have a ceremony with lines. And you saw what they created in the museum. It's just what I explained. They didn't do symbols or anything in their small bag and, the bows and arrows. This is what they did. But, this is, their life as a ceremony. They were also happy people dancing, celebrating. They like to joke a lot. They were playing a lot. They had time to talk. They had a big teepee. They had individual teepees for the families, but they have a big teepee where they had conversations at the end of the day to talk about their daily activities. How was the hunt? How was this? And I said, they can get together to talk. And I said, we barely get together to talk. I was fascinated by many of the things that they practice. That's really, we are talking now, that is very nice. But, sometimes we forget to have a conversation with people,
Maria?
Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Elisa. Thank you so much, Nestor. I feel and I think it's like, was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very, very much to all the team, to the board, to the volunteers, and all the people that has joined us tonight. And we will see you next Monday. We have the next panel is called Panography with the NYU Gaia team, Professor Lawrence Whitman, who will moderate a panel with Susan Bowen and Naftali Visser, and they will show and discuss their panographic photograph. So yes, thank you so much to everyone, and have a great night.
Well, I love you guys, and I love ATOA, so great work. Thank you for the opportunity. And Nestor, we have a lot to continue talking, the two of us.
we had to drink some how do you call mate or wine or something.
Yes.
To keep talking, right?
And I'd love to join you for that one.
You can do in the underwear factory to get closer to
right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You got it.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.